Hi guys, today I want to talk about why it is so stinking hard for some of us to be assertive. And this is something that I have been really working on the last year of my life is what does it look like to be assertive with class, okay? Because when I try to be assertive, or what it feels like when I try to be assertive, is chaos and mayhem and a lot of things. So I want to talk about why it's so hard to be assertive. And here are some of my thoughts. So first of all is our judgments on assertiveness. So this would be how we see or perceive assertiveness. Some people naturally just have this gift for being able to be a presence in a room, share their thoughts boldly, and it's just not a big deal. And other people, like me, see assertiveness. I judge assertiveness. That's a very good point because this doesn't mean it's factual. This is a judgment. It's an opinion, how I perceive it. So in the past, how I've perceived assertiveness is like kind of akin to like being mean or bitchy or rude or I don't know, just a lot extra. So if you have a hard time with assertiveness, ask yourself, okay, what do I judge assertiveness to be? So that's one thing that makes assertiveness hard is if you've already decided that assertiveness equals mean, then anytime you try to, even appropriately, state a point or set a boundary, you're going to assume that you're being mean, and half the time you probably aren't. So that's one. Two, this is really hard, is it requires honesty. So you can't just go along to get along. You can't slip into people pleaser mode and be like, oh yeah, whatever you want is fine, even if you totally disagree. This is something that is super annoying to anyone who's on the receiving end of it. I never realized how hard this is for other people. When you're doing the people pleasing thing, it seems like it's the right thing to do. It seems like you're being really nice. But then if you turn around and you're like, no, I don't agree with that, or that's not what I wanted, then it's just hard to work with you. It's hard to partner with you. It's hard to know where you stand. And I've learned this lesson the hard way. So assertiveness actually requires honesty. It requires you saying, okay, where do I stand on this? What are my actual opinions? And then being honest about what those opinions are. And sometimes that's really hard. It's hard because what if those thoughts or opinions or that stance that you take isn't received well? I think this is our big fear. In addition to saying, oh, well, I'm being mean or rude, the fear is, how is this going to come off? Are they going to see me as mean and rude, or am I going to come off as, like I'm impossible to work with? Am I going to come off as I don't want to partner with something that you want me to do, or I'm just difficult? So you don't know how it's going to be received. Maybe somebody gets mad. Maybe somebody doesn't want to be your friend anymore. There's a lot of loss or potential loss associated with being assertive, especially if we don't know how to handle it very well. So that's the third thing. 4 that I wrote down is, yay, it forces you to address parts of you that have gone unheard. So what I mean by this is there might be some opinions that you hold, some stances that you have that because you've just been people pleasing for so long and like, yeah, everything's fine, I'm great all the time, no problem. There's parts of you that you've denied along the way. There's parts of you that you're like, ugh, I'd rather be disappointed than disappoint them. So I'll just shove this to the side, and that's a part of you that's gone unheard. And to actually acknowledge those things means to say, okay, wait, maybe I do actually hold an opinion, and maybe my opinion on this is valid and it matters, and I'm allowed to hold that opinion. So that's really hard, is allowing those parts of you that you've shut down to have a little bit of a voice in your life. And then 5, this is the most obvious one, but a lot of the times it's just easier to not. It's easier to not speak up. It's easier to just kind of sit back and be like, oh, well, it's easier to go along to get along. And in the short term, it's easier to go along to get along than just really set your boundaries and get used to saying no and stating why and being honest about it. That feels really disorienting, especially if to be assertive causes inner chaos and mayhem. But I promise you, if we can start to reflect on these things and have some self-awareness about like, I'm feeling a little panicked, that doesn't mean that I am rude or mean or difficult. It just means that I feel uncomfortable. And that's how I judge this thing. So I promise you, it is possible to be assertive without being whatever your judgment is of assertiveness. It does take practice, and I think that we get more comfortable with it as time goes on. And like I said, it just requires a lot of honesty with yourself and an understanding that, hey, you're gonna win some, you're gonna lose some. If you handle it really, really rough, if assertiveness is not your deal and you kind of slip through it a few times, it's okay to go back and apologize and self-reflect and like, okay, didn't handle that great this time, let's get them next time. So anyway, those are my 5 thoughts on why assertiveness can be really hard. But I think even if it's hard for you, you should investigate that, lean into it, and see what you find. All right, have a good day.